22-year-old Guanyu Zhou is the first Chinese driver to make it to Formula One. By all measures, he is an exciting new talent. But for China, he is more than just a driver. How is the youngster being used for a major shift in China? Stay tuned to find out exactly what Guanyu Zhou means for the Chinese government. So, who is he? Guanyu Zhou is the first Chinese driver to make it to Formula One. That is an enormous achievement and could be the beginning of a new era of F1 in China. Zhou was born in Shanghai in China, and little is officially known about his family. Many online outlets have rumored that he comes from a wealthy family, but the details of his parents or of his wealth are not publicly known. When he was only 12, Zhou moved with his family to England to focus seriously on his motorsport career. He looked up to his childhood hero, Fernando Alonso. In a sport where billionaires buy teams so that their children can drive, it should come as no surprise that Zhou brings with him a considerable amount of financial backing. The exact numbers are not known, but Alfa Romeo team boss Friedrich Vasseur has confirmed that the financial side was a big part of the decision to sign Zhou and that it was crucial for the future interest of the company. Vasseur was also enthusiastic about the possibilities of using Zhou's status as the first Chinese F1 driver for Haas and its sponsors to break into the Chinese market. Zhou has been labeled a pay driver for his connections, but he has earned his stripes and is ready to take the leap into F1 in 2022. He was signed to the Ferrari Academy in 2013 and proved himself in F4 before signing with the Renault Academy for his Formula 2 career. Zhou won the Formula 2 World Championship in 2020 and in 2021 won the F3 Asian Championship. How is Zhou fitting into Alfa Romeo? Getting into F1 is one thing, but staying around and having a good relationship with your team is another. It is a team sport and you need to be working together to have any success. So how is the Chinese driver settling into life at Alfa Romeo? Alfa Romeo has made big changes this season. They changed both of their drivers. Kimi Räikkönen retired and Antonio Giovinazzi was axed. In their place are former Mercedes man Valtteri Bottas and Guanyu Zhou. After it was announced that he would not be a part of the 2022 lineup, Giovinazzi said that when money dictates decisions, F1 can be ruthless. Zhou said that Valtteri Bottas is the perfect teammate to have for his rookie year. He thinks that Bottas's experience, driving style, and results will all be helpful in teaching Zhou how to compete with the best of the best. He has said that his priority this year is to learn as much as possible. Bottas thinks that the two will have a good driving partnership, and he is impressed by Zhou's recent results. But this is all early days. They haven't had to race each other yet, and we still don't know who will come out on top in qualifying and races. How is China trying to use Zhou's success for its own national interests? And exactly how much money has been put into the young driver to help him into F1? Don't go anywhere, because we're about to find out all that and more. The growing Chinese market. Where does China fit into all of this? With most athletes, we don't discuss the country they are from, so why is it important now? China is growing more and more every day, and it will be bigger than the U.S. economy by 2030. It has a population of 1.4 billion people and is a big part of the world. For the Chinese government, it is important to have a reputation as a global leader. This is why over the past 20 years, they have hosted both the Summer and Winter Olympics and have invested in growing their domestic football league massively. China's athletes are also very important. After Chinese tennis player Peng Shuai accused a prominent political figure of sexual assault, the issue quickly became an international controversy. It looked like the Chinese government managed the scandal closely, with Peng Shuai disappearing before appearing at government-arranged promotional events. That's why Guanyu Zhou is so important. He can be used as a representative for China, and his success can be an advertisement for the country. And he can also help get the Chinese population interested in F1. Yao Ming, the most successful Chinese basketball player, attracted 200 million viewers in his NBA debut and started a basketball boom in China. F1 will be hoping that Zhou can have the same effect. Next, the New Japan. F1 has been massive in Asia. The Japanese are iconic, and the Singapore Grand Prix has been the host of many controversial races. China is hoping to get in on the action. The Japanese Grand Prix is a big part of Formula One history. It has seen legends like James Hunt and Niki Lauda decide the title, Alain Prost and Ayrton Senna battle it out, and Michael Schumacher claiming his third world championship. Now, China wants a slice of the pie. Since the debut of the Chinese Grand Prix in 2004, F1 has had a difficult time finding large audiences in China. At the time, it was the most expensive F1 circuit ever built. The sponsors were slow to buy in, and audience levels were pretty low compared to other events on the tour. The organizers were paying $50 million a year to be part of the event and struggled to make a profit. In 2008, China was considering abandoning the race altogether. It didn't help when the head of the racetrack was put in jail for corruption, but you've got to break a few eggs to make an omelet, right? They key ingredient for China is getting the local population interested in the sport. Football was not very popular in China before the 2000s, but is now one of the most popular sports there. There is a huge investment in football in China, and some big names were signed. And if we know anything about F1, it's that there is no shortage of money. Next, the Chinese Wonder Kid. But for people to be interested in sport, you need stars. You need a face and a name that can be used for advertising and marketing. Part of the problem was the difficulty in finding a Chinese Michael Schumacher to help draw audiences in. But there are now promising signs that the sport is growing in China, with an almost 30% increase in TV viewers in the country for the 2020 season. When Alfa Romeo announced that they were signing Guanyu Zhou, Formula One chief executive Stefano Domenicali said that it was fantastic for the sport and that it would help keep Chinese F1 fans enthusiastic about the sport's future. Now with Guanyu Zhou in an F1 car, China may have the local hero they have been waiting for. He has an impressive race record and is well connected to the Chinese business sector. He has been described as China's only F1 hope for the next generation. Talk about pressure. Some reports have suggested that as much as $30 million came from China to support Zhou's F1 place at Alfa Romeo. But it's not all easy for Zhou. He talked in the past about the difficulties involved in being the first Chinese person in the sport. He said that it is more difficult because he doesn't have a guide to help him make the right decisions along the way. Next, China's future in the sport. With the arrival of Guanyu Zhou, it's lucky that China didn't pull out in 2008 like it wanted to. These are exciting times to be an F1 fan in China. During the COVID pandemic, there was a massive disruption to the F1 calendar, and the tour skipped China in 2020 and 2021. Last year, China signed a new contract with F1 to keep the Chinese Grand Prix going until at least 2025. Zhou is playing a big part in this. China has big hopes for the young gun, but will he be able to deliver on the biggest motorsport stage in the world? We can't wait to find out. Watching talented drivers being promoted from F2 to F1 is special. Sometimes it's the beginning of a new generation. For China, this may be the beginning of a generation of Chinese youngsters who are inspired by Zhou. Guanyu Zhou is a very exciting young driver. He seems to tick all the boxes. But what do you think? Is it fair to talk about Zhou as a representative of China, or should we let his driving do the talking? We'd love to hear what you think. Leave us a comment down below, and thanks for watching.